Hey, my name's Jonathan, and I'm a veteran.
Hi, my name is Daryl, and I'm a veteran.
My name is Chad, and I'm a veteran.
Hey, I'm Travis. I'm an Air Force veteran.
Hi, my name's Ashley, and I'm a veteran.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, and thanks so much for joining me tonight. And happy St. Patrick's Day and Luck of the Irish and all that good stuff. I've got my Renegade Racing t-shirt. It does have the green on it, so I'm good to go. And if anybody is interested, this is from Tom West. He has Renegade Racing. He does a lot of drifting as well. And so he does have these shirts available. If you're interested, you can find him on... if you go to YouTube, I think it's Stick Shift Racing as well. So great guy. And if you haven't watched, he was my second guest. So happy to share that for the racing people out there as well. So hopefully everybody's gotten through their dinner and we're about ready to get going. And I'm really, really excited about this guest. He's got a lot of resources at his disposal. So it really does make me excited to share that with you. Angry Sarge, thank you. Appreciate you showing up tonight. That's okay. I know you're at work, but appreciate that. I know we've got Tennessee Goddess is out there. She's listening on her ride home. So appreciate everybody who's listening in, as well as those of you here in the chats and who will be watching this later. So without further ado, allow me to introduce my guest tonight. His name is James Daniels III.
Hello, everyone.
Howdy. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Did you get all your food, your Irish food and such in today?
Actually, I did not.
No.
But I will after this. I will be going out to partake in some things. So
nice, very nice. So, Angry Sarge, thanks so much. I appreciate that. He said the intro is still looking good, so happy to hear that. It's still pretty fresh, pretty new. So hopefully that still continues to do well. So I know we talked a little bit before the show started, and you definitely have a lot of resources, it sounds like, at your disposal, as well as a really good head on your shoulders for the different generations that are coming in. So I'm really going to take a lot of notes and really excited to hear that part of it later on. But to start, I want to kind of know a little bit more about you. And let's start with, if you're okay with it, your education, your childhood, things of that nature. How was all of that for you?
all right. Okay. Well, I am born in Chicago, from Chicago, Illinois, and probably around about the age of 7 or 8. My mom married and we moved down to Mississippi for about 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the bulk of my education, I believe I will say our credit down there. And so when I went back up to Chicago, the biggest thing was, and this is like 1989, 90, Desert Storm was about to pop off.
Yep.
And so the biggest thing I saw was being in the low socioeconomic status that we were in, West Side Chicago, very poor. The stance was get a job. When you graduate, you need to get a job. So even though I was pretty savvy in school, I did pretty well. I was pretty smart, but we really want to get in a lot of scholarships and things like that for opportunity. So I was told a long time ago that, the military services are probably where you want to go. Didn't have any real experience in the family as far as military. I think we had a few people go into the Army. So I set out to go into the Air Force, but he was late and the Marine Corps sergeant came and got me.
Oh, that's funny. That is so funny.
Absolutely. So It's lost, right?
You're right. That's
So,
right.
yeah, so I fell in love with the challenge of it. They put in the little tape, and I just wanted to see the world, travel the world. So for me, that's kind of what I did in my career. I want to make sure that I was traveling. So in the 30 years I served, I spent about 17 years overseas. So
Wow. And you served for how long?
30 years.
30 years. Oh, that's wonderful. And what did you retire as?
Master Gunnery Sergeant.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your service and your sacrifice and for our freedoms. And that is definitely much appreciated. I know Jason has said welcome and thank you for your service.
Right.
And also, hoorah.
But as far as my education, I do have a degree in educational studies. There was a stint that I was able to go back to the schoolhouse and teach our MOS to the career levels. And so I fell in love with teaching. So I got my teaching degree.
Nice. Angry Sarge says, salute, Master Guns.
Right.
And appreciate your service as well. So when you signed on the dotted line and they said, okay, did you get your pick of what you wanted to do, or what did you go in as?
Absolutely not, because you know how we get, probably about 80% of Marines goes, the recruiter lied to me.
The pipeline is closed.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So I actually went in on an open contract. It was basically put me where you need me to be.
Right.
So I wind up getting the MOS of 3043, which is supply chain manager. So that's dealing with procurement, budgeting, and things like that. So little brainiac stuff.
So you did well with your ASVAB.
Yeah, I did okay. I did. Well, I did good. I didn't do well enough to get in the avionics. That's for sure.
Gotcha. Well, nowadays, for avionics or aviation, I know not all schools, but my youngest son, his school actually has a career path for aviation.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is awesome. And so thrilled for that for him. Whether he utilizes it or not, it's something good to at least have on the resume. But so you get there, you step on the yellow footprints. How was that for you?
Well, I come from a very strict home. My parents were very strict and disciplined and things like that. So to be totally honest with you, I fell right in. I knew exactly what to do, as long as I'm being told my boundaries and things like that. So it was, to me, boot camp was never, be honest with you, mentally challenging at all. It was physically challenging. There were some things there, but I think I was, I'm one of those people that kind of, I look at opportunity, I just grab it. And I think my temperament of always being positive on things, I am a half glass half empty person. So to me, it was just, because I was told this would be the worst thing you'll ever do in life. So I was that kid, like, I want my butt whooping now. I don't want
right. Let's get it done.
Yes,
so,
right.
Are you in contact at all with any of the guys that you went through boot camp with?
Yes. There's,
wow.
Yeah. There's one I'm still in contact with. He actually is from Chicago also. And I think, though, when it comes to relationships, you get more tighter with the people from your first duty station. So I'm very close with about 3 people. And these are long life friends. No, through my life, there's been nobody to replace these 4 people. They are absolutely my go-to for anything and everything.
Awesome. Yeah. And I had another guest, and he basically said, I can, friendship forged in fire are the ones that'll last a lifetime. And he says, I can call them up and they say, we'll be right there with a shovel. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense, because you're going through the same events, the same.
Yeah, that is a huge part of your life that you're all young, you're 18s and 19s, and you're going through this thing by yourselves and trying to figure it out. And I don't think there's a stronger bond than that. And again, they all got out. I was the only one that actually kept going, and we've been able to even keep that friendship to this day. So it tells you just how strong those bonds really were.
Yeah. Do you have any funny stories from boot camp?
Well, yeah, got a couple.
Oh, come on now. Let's throw them out there.
Well, I'll tell you a real quick one. And this is one where we were told that we had to go out to this concert thing. And we were told we couldn't smile. We couldn't, we had to sit there kind of in attention, whatever. And it was Marie Osmond.
Oh, I love Marie Osmond.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. We'd rather be in the pits.
Oh no!
Because she was singing country music. It was like the worst 45 minutes ever.
Not a country music fan, I take it. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so it was, but that was pretty cool because Lee Greenway?
Greenwood?
Greenwood, yeah.
Lee Greenwood.
He was there.
One of my favorite songs.
Yeah, he sung that song for us and everything. So that was one of the things that hardly ever happened that we got to do that most Marines didn't get to do, was sit at a concert for 45 minutes out in the on the field. So that was kind of special.
And was that, were you, I presume you were East Coast?
No, San Diego.
You were, okay.
Yes.
Wow. I figured being from Chicago and then Mississippi that you'd have been, I thought so. Interesting.
Yeah, you would think. But I had to listen to those planes leave every night. And it was very, it's like, I wish I was on one of those right now.
Leaving on a jet plane, that would be, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, okay. So how was your first deployment? How did that go for you?
All right. So you wouldn't consider a deployment, but my first time leaving the States I was a Lance Corporal in 1993, and I went on a Marine Security Guard, MSG, which is a high level job. You had to go through top secret clearance and all those, and the school was pretty rigorous. But you're there to go out to guard embassies out, So my first duty station was Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso.
I'm sorry. Can you spell that? Oh, I can't say it, let alone spell it. That's impressive.
Yeah. Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Yeah, that's in West Africa. So I that was my first duty station, and I guarded the embassy there for 15 months. And then my second post, which should have been Oslo, Norway. And let me tell you, this is what I gotta say. I believe in the butterfly effect. A Marine did something that changed his life and was the worst day of his life. But because of that, I have the greatest life now. Because that's where I met my wife. So So he had a negligent discharge in the embassy. He shot his weapon off. I don't know. He was messing around and he shot. So he was immediately kicked off the program. And so they were down a Marine and I was ready to move. So the colonel called me and asked, would I please take the position? And so I took it.
You're like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and so you end up going there and that's where you met your wife?
Yes, I met my wife. We dated for about 18 months, and it was time for me to come back to the States. And then I asked her hand in marriage.
And so, did she get to come back with you right away?
Well, she had to work for a few more months, so it's about 4 more months before she was able to come. Because my wife is Australian, so we had to go through the visa and all that kind of stuff too. So,
okay.
Which was very difficult because she couldn't work, she couldn't get a job. So for a couple of years, it was a huge struggle for us financially. But I always say that we were broke, but we're never in debt.
That's right. I'm going to send my oldest Marine. He is driving, so I'm going to send him the link real quick. So hold tight here. If I can find it, I will send it. Hey Jay, can you send our oldest the link, please? Let him do that.
Right.
So anyway, so she had to stay for a few more months, got her everything wrapped up there for work, which makes perfect sense to me. And then you came back to the States.
Right.
How long were you here before you got deployed again?
I was here for several years. I was here for 4.5 years because I worked at the Staff Academy, which is a base unit which doesn't deploy. I was a supply chief there, and then we moved to Hawaii, and that's when I deployed but it was more of exercises. We would go to Okinawa, we would go to Singapore, but these were just exercises. And once I left Hawaii, we went to Okinawa, and from there I started deploying to Australia, Thailand, the Philippines, the Middle East. That's where I really started to do a lot of deployments. And my first combat deployment didn't come until 2009. And that's when we deployed to Iraq.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about that. How was that? What was that particular?
All right. So I was assigned to the Total Force military force there. Our mission was to do security and also to locate IEDs. Now, my job, I was supply chief. So I was there to make sure they had all the supplies and things that they need, stuff like that. But I also went out on convoys, doing a part when I'm trying to find equipment and things like that. But I was able to go out of the wire and be assigned to certain sticks that are going out to security patrol and things like that. And I was an actual gunnery sergeant at this time at E7 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was, fortunately, we didn't. There was a couple of things that happened, but nothing catastrophic happened with us. So for us,
and this conflict was what?
Excuse me. Oh, Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. So this was on the tail end as we were transferring everything over to Afghanistan. So one of my jobs was to send equipment, to wrap up all the equipment and get it transferred over to Afghanistan. So I was doing that also. Okay. I was there. So one of the things that was kind of, like I said, anytime you're going out doing something outside your comfort zone, things like that, the training kind of steps in a little bit. There were some, close calls and things like that. But I always say that we were fortunate that we really didn't have anything huge happen. I think only one of our sticks got into a small firefight that didn't last too long. But at that time, the really heavy stuff had already stopped, to be honest with you. And you get a mortar every now and then, but we didn't lose anyone in our group during our deployment that 9 months we were out there. So which is very fortunate because, again, our job was to go out there and do patrols. So
right. And how was that for you? I mean, you step off the plane and here you are, you're hearing the gunfire and all that kind of stuff. How did you react to that initially?
To be honest with you, it was, it was more like it is what it is. The thing was for me just to ensure that, that we try to get everybody back safe. I tell you a quick one. On the patrols that I went on, even though I was an E7 gunnery sergeant, I always ensured that the grunt, the E4, E5, that I let them know that I'm not here to take your position. You let me know. I became more of a I'm more a rifleman for them out there. I wasn't about to take control of something that's what they do as grunts, you know.
Right.
And my little 6 months of refurbishing training, I wasn't gonna go back and say, you know, yeah, this is mine because I'm the biggest. No, absolutely not. It's like I'm trying to get home like you, right? So there was many occasions where rank did not, in my opinion, my ego was okay to have the sergeant let me know, hey, where you want me to, my sector of fires are, where you want me to patrol. So they're grunts, they're infantry, they know that, and I respected that. So I would never pull rank because of ego.
That's awesome, because that happens a lot. You see it a lot. You hear about it a lot. And I'm not talking movies. I'm talking real life. The stories. It's interesting I'm putting in a short in the next few days. One of my past guests, also a Marine, was Special Forces and recon, and he had said that when you're in Special Forces, yes, you've got, the hierarchy, but it's, everybody's all in it at the same time. Right. And they're all, there to watch your back even. It's not like, I'm going to go stand over here and you go do this. Everybody's in it together. Yeah. So
even on MSG duty, when you're standing post, you have your rank structure out there, but if the Lance Corporal is on post, that's who in charge if something goes down. So again, when it comes to those things, sometimes rank is not the thing, if that makes sense. What you have to do is you have to just put all your faith in those around you, that everybody is aware and know what they're doing, and everybody do their piece. Like for instance, I'm in this, even though I'm on the security patrol, my main mission is to get from point A to point C, get the ride there. But during that, all right, I'm also a rifleman. I have to do security or whatever. My goal was never to, because of my rank, well, now this is my mission. Like, absolutely not, So there are occasions out there where it was, there was, I won't lie to you, there was some scary things that happened. And some of the stuff that went down, I struggled a little bit when I got back. My wife recognized it before I did.
We're good at that.
Yeah. I got back and I just wanted to do all this risky behavior stuff. I wanted to go jump out of planes. We went to Australia, white water rafting and all this. I wanted a motorcycle. I wanted this adrenaline because as you're on those patrol, when you're there, it's always high alert.
Right.
And so when you get back to the calm, it doesn't feel real good. So you just want to just do things. So my wife recognized it for me about 4 months after we got back. And she's like, you need to go speak to somebody and see what that's about, because this is not you. Because I'm not the one to be jumping out of planes. And
so did you do it? Did you get to go jump out of any planes?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's why she knew something was wrong.
See, my husband, he would jump out of planes all day long if I let him. That's just, he climbed towers and cell towers and stuff. So not me. Yeah,
for me, it was more of the risky behavior. And then when I got back, I was pretty much going on any deployment that I could get on. It got to the point where I was trying to keep my brain occupied, not to think. But once I got the help, I got help through our community counseling center. Most bases have for the Marine Corps, we had the Marine Corps Community Service Center, Marine Corps Community Service, MCCS, and they have hired behavioral health specialists and community counselors at your, anytime you need anything, those people are there for you. A lot of people like to go use a chaplain, but sometimes the chaplains also can be overwhelmed.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So and some people don't like doing chaplains also because they still, especially young ones, believe they still part of the staff, even though they tell you that whatever you say, I can't tell anybody. It's against the law, and they still don't trust in that. And that's also another negative connotation for our chaplains because everybody thinks that they're going to preach to you because they are ministers and they think that's what that's going to be. But I can tell you that is not most chaplains that I've served with. That's not what that is. They're there to service you, to be that ear for you, and also if they need to refer you to for mental health or anything like that, they're there to help guide you through that. But today, in today's climate, we're very short on chaplains, so they're stretched really thin. So it's kind of hard to get that time sometimes. So MCCS has kind of up their hire of the prevention specialists. Also, they've got a new position called the military, the MFLACs, military family life counselors. They're within the units, so their families and Marines can use them. And these are more for short term though. Like if you just need to get something out or whatever, they are in the units now, so you can actually use them. You have every unit has one assigned to them that you need some counseling. So I think after Iraq and Afghanistan, when they saw a huge problem with Marines letting everybody know they was having issues, because again, it's that machismo, the ego thing.
Yep.
And unfortunately, some people in those positions would sidestep someone needing help. But the Marine Corps did a good job of letting everybody know that this will not affect your career. If you get help, that's not a down thing. But again, that thing that make us off in the first place, keeps knocking at the door, right? So you have to really be one in yourself to be able to accept that. And it's hard. I have a person right now at Wounded Warrior Battalion. My wife works at Wounded Warrior Battalion.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So right now, most of the cases are like kind of mental and terminal and stuff like that. It's not combat, but we do have one combat Marine in there, Sergeant Major, who's lost everything because he didn't want to get help. He's lost right now. He doesn't have his wife. He doesn't have his kids. He's in the barracks because for the last 10, 15 years, he hasn't seek help. And as not seeking help, he's destroyed, all
the relationships. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. And now before he gets out, I'm glad he's getting help now. And I'm hoping that he'll be able to rebound from it. But it's like, come on, man, you're like 7, 8 years too late. You should have been doing this, right? But
if you can start talking now, really, that's what it's about. I've talked to a number of veterans since the show premiered, and they're all saying the same thing, right? They all had that egotistical mindset, the machismo, as you call it, where they're tough. They learned how to compartmentalize, that's what the military taught them. And so they can deal with it, but they don't recognize at that moment that they're really not dealing with it, right? Alcohol, drugs, and so on and so forth. And until they're at the bottom of the barrel, and then they're forced to have to deal with it.
Right.
And then they start talking and they're like, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. Because just getting it out, a lot of them are afraid to say things in front of family members because they're afraid those family members, the ones that love them, are going to see them differently, depending upon what their service was, where they were at, and the things that is really bothering them. Yeah. But in truth, we're here to support our family members that are in service or veterans. And if we can learn what the issue is, and they recognize that we're not going to look at them differently, we're just here to be the support that you need. And, or if you care to, and if not, let us help you find somebody who you feel comfortable talking to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of it too is most times I think that even after serving 30 years, now that I'm still growing myself, I'm still trying to get used to the civilian life, because after you do that for 30 years, you are kind of molded a specific type of way on how to deal with those that haven't put on the uniform. For us, even though others may think it's this superhuman, this obvious, awesome thing, like how can you do that? But for us, it's regular day to day.
Exactly.
So when you say that I'm stressed and going through some things, yeah, but that's kind of comes with the territory. And I think another part that people are embarrassed about are those that may not be combat stress, but operationally stressed.
Yes.
So that can mess with your mind and your temperament just as much as being in combat, especially when the long hours and the amount of stress is put on you to perform and to provide and to all those things. So we now teach this thing called operational stress also, because that can be just as devastating as being in a firefight sometimes, depending on the person's temperament. But then you have those that are like, well, you ain't got nothing to be, this is when we get in a problem sometimes, when those of us that don't get help, when those that are seeking help and have not, and what they went through is nothing compared to what we went through, because our skin's a little bit tough or whatever. We kind of chastise them a little bit. So they're a little gun shy and letting you know that this is why I'm stressed. Right. Like most Marines would never tell you the story I did. Like I went out there, we didn't get in firefight scene like that. Someone won't tell you that. And I had issues. My mind, I had freaking mental breakdowns because of wait. You had no firefights and you had mental. You see how it goes? Yep. So is that shame also, because we know others. I know dozens and dozens of Marines whose lives was taken away doing that, right? So I'm stressed out over this when I didn't go out and do what they did. So it's also survivor guilt and shame too, right? To admit that something's wrong with you when someone else comparably did a whole lot, more or worse than you. So
was in the middle of it all. Yeah.
And what you complaining about, right?
Yep. And you hear that a lot. And, I know I'm assuming you probably know our middle son, what he's got going on. Yeah. And so, to me, it's what you said is a very valid point.
Yeah.
So after, Iraq, Afghanistan, where did you go from there?
All right. So we were in Okinawa, Japan at the time. And my wife promised me that we would never come back to Jacksonville, North Carolina, where we're retired now, because it was such a horrible experience the first time around. But,
oh, no.
yeah. I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible here. We had like 2 hurricanes. My daughter was born during one of the worst hurricanes here.
Oh, wow.
And then you're broke, you don't have money and things like that. So I told her, it's like, look, they want me teaching at the schoolhouse, but if you don't want to go, but just understand this, I won't deploy if I go. So she immediately said, okay, yeah, we're going. Right?
Nice.
Yeah. So I came back. The last 10 years of my career, I was an instructor and I was doing inspections pretty much the rest of my time. So I never deployed to combat in that way again. I went out to inspect units and deployments, but not to be part of those deployments, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so as an instructor, what specifically was it you were instructing?
Oh, yeah, MOS, supply chain management, which was my expertise.
Still in the supply chain. Okay.
Exactly. So I became a career level instructor, which means I taught the NCOs, officers, and staff NCOs. I didn't teach privates, the entry level. No, I taught the career level Marines. And that's when I really fell in love with teaching. And I decided to go ahead and get my degree in teaching.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And So as far as teaching them, what kind of, if you can talk about, what kind of things were you teaching them about?
Oh, basically just processes and procurement, especially when you deploy. During deployment, what process and procedures work better for you, because as you know, you can have all the policies and orders in place, but things don't always go the way it's written. So it was kind of like, a lot of things was just understand. If you understand a policy, then you create the process to follow that policy, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it was more of how to support those grunts out there or those units out there as they're deploying, as you're out there. What's the best way to get that equipment or those parts, the equipment that's tore up? What's the best way to get those, parts for the mechanics can fix and things like that. So it was, I really enjoyed it. But I'd be honest with you, I even got my next job, which was a supply chain management analyst for an inspection team for Headquarters Marine Corps. I really enjoyed that because now I can go into units, and even though I'm analyzing and inspecting you, but also can do a lot of training too, give you best practices and stuff like that. So
what do you think? What do you say to people who say Marine Corps has the least amount of equipment? And how do you get more equipment? I mean, obviously it comes down to budget, right? I mean,
yes. And also, I'm gonna be honest with you, especially when I joined during Desert Storm, it was kind of a badge of honor to do more with less.
It was. Agreed. Yes.
So,
but not when you really need it. Like at the heart, I mean, a part that you're in the middle of a war and a piece breaks and you got to wait for it to get shipped. And oh, by the way, come to find out, they really don't have it there either.
Well, I can tell you this: when I was stationed, my first duty station was Barstow, California, and that's one of our warehouse operations. And I can tell you, during Desert Storm, when the Army would bury their equipment, that they didn't want to bring back, the Marine Corps would get it and bring it back. So I was adding all that stuff into our inventory.
Good. That actually, that warms my heart. Makes me feel, we're very frugal.
Yes.
I am a mother of 2 Marines, and so I love hearing about that because it's always tough as a parent, a mom. I can't obviously speak for the fathers of Marines, but moms, we're always really close, or we hope to be close with our children anyway. But and every little ache and pain and stuff really affects us. But knowing that you're sending them out there to a branch that has the least amount of resources as a whole, it's scary as a parent because it's like,
yeah, I understand that, but this is what I hated, right? As a Marine, as a vet, as I consider myself a representative of the taxpayer, right?
Yes.
It used to make me very upset when the Marine Corps just say, no, it can't be done. I would want that, because if you show that we can't do it, maybe we get the funding. And that's always been the problem where it's just like, we're going to find a way to do the mission, right? So when you have to, but when you do that, they say, well, they must not need it.
I know, it's a catch-22, right?
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So Killian says, as far as reclaiming stuff that's been buried, tactically acquired. Like, yes.
I love that.
What is this? Strategically transport equipment to alternate location.
By any means necessary.
That's right. That is right.
I remember in a lot of diplomas we would get with the foreign nationals, whatever country we were in, and you get in close with those people, those guys, and these are very poor, but they, when you have to get some things done, and they right in there with you. It's like, hey, we can find a way to get that there, So there was some very huge bondings with a lot of our allies when you're out there, because again, if you really look at the makeup of our military, who is it? It's the regular low socioeconomic status people that are trying to find a better way, right, to not only just serve the country. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when I first joined, people were not joining, I say like in the early mid 90s, people weren't joining to, as they say, fight for the country or whatever. People were joining to figure it out and get a shot. But then when 9/11 happened, and I sat there and I witnessed it, I saw America stand up, and these kids that came through to join during that time. And at this time, I'm like a staff sergeant. I've been in about a little over 10 years. And I'm seeing these people that's coming in with only to just serve, right? Those were some very special Americans from the year like 2001 through like 2007, 2008. They came for a purpose, and that was to serve. And I met some amazing people from that era.
We have a few of them out there in the chats, and a couple that we've had as well, several actually veterans in past shows. They're a lot of them out of those eras.
Yeah. I was very fortunate to the 30-year span I was serving. I was very fortunate to see the human experience in America going through the services. And I tell you, during that time, oh my goodness. And I think I can appreciate those that are leading now, because that's who's leading right now. Those people that came in during that time, they're the ones that's, making the call. So I have a deep appreciation for those, because for some of us, like myself, I did not join to fight for my country. Our country was in a fight, but I needed opportunity. I wanted guidance. I wanted a chance. And most people that I knew, that's why we joined. But 2001, oh my goodness, that was a different set of people that came in.
Yeah, 2001, it was all about, pride was a big one too. Yeah. Pride for our country and wanting, to defend it. Yeah.
And I was very fortunate to see that transition to that. And I'm be honest with you, there was a little bitterness in some of the toward the mid 90s, when a lot of the Vietnam guys were starting to go away, because they felt like, slighted in a way. And then you have some Vietnam people right now, when they're looking at how we're trying to really take care of the veterans now, but it's like, wait a minute, we're trying to pull you in too. We still want to support you too. And a lot of them got a little bitterness towards this generation, because like, wait a minute, we didn't get that, whatever. Right. It's like, I think you would want the better for, the next generation, and I'm thankful that there's a lot more work to do. Trust me on that.
100%. I agree.
Yes. But from where I saw when I came in, from what I saw from there to now, it's like day and night. It's like almost 180.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I always talk about when I go to the store or I go to have my vehicle worked on, there are people that, they don't walk around with the Vietnam veteran hats. They're at work. They're doing something, whatever it is. And a lot of them still have that feeling of not wanting to advertise that they were a Vietnam veteran because of how they were treated, and fear of that same repercussion, which we're so far past that now, which is a good thing. But the fact of the matter is, you don't know who you're standing next to. You don't know who you're talking to. Yeah. You don't know what their story is, whether or not they're a veteran, what era they served in. And so it's really important to be kind to every single person that you meet, because it's going to take one person to really change the mindset. And, thank you. I appreciate your help. Thank you. You might not know that he was a Vietnam veteran, but to say thank you for, thank you for holding the door. Thank you for whatever. Say thank you. People tend to be more responsive.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I have this thing where you never know what kindness would do for another individual. I tell when I teach, I said sometimes others can validate you doing okay as a human being. I said one of the things that we do in the Marine Corps, right? One of the traditions is when you get promoted, you ask someone that of higher rank to pin your things on because you have so much respect, whatever, for you. And I always tell the Marines, like, if you ever in a formation and somebody call you do that and you don't even know who they are, you have no clue who, and that happened to me several times. I said that should be validation that your day-to-day, whatever you said that day, you don't know how it changed their life. You have no clue what, maybe it was the most down day of their life, and just by you smiling and saying good morning or whatever, recognizing them. And so I think a lot of times, and that's why I teach these temperament and personality classes and generation classes, whatever, is that if you get to know people, I always say that the human nature is negative, right? Unfortunately, because if you look at what's handed to us as far as our media, our entertainment, our news, it's all of that, right? So we got to constantly be doing this positive, right? But I always say that if you change your mindset, right, and you understand a person before, you try to get to know them, listen to understand, you most likely will find out that you're not that far off, and you won't take how they feel personally, just because someone see the world as a different perspective than you. If you listen to understand, you go, okay, even though I don't agree with it, but I see where you're coming from, and I'm good with that, right? And that's what I teach. That's what I teach on a day-to-day basis, is that stop taking someone else's values and morals because it's different than yours, and now it's something wrong with them.
Right. And totally negating them as a person.
Yeah. And I always say this, especially here in North Carolina, in Jacksonville, it's a shame that we need a freaking hurricane disaster to come through here before the neighbors come out and start helping each other. It's like, hey, how you doing? Everybody got chainsaws. Everybody's helping. It's like, this is what it takes for us to have a block party. Okay.
Oh, how long you lived next door? We used to have foreign exchange students, and the neighbor, when the foreign exchange students would come, and we would always have gatherings at our house from the neighbors, or we'd go to their house or what have you. And they were like, what are you doing? It's like, well, we're talking to the neighbors, or, and they just don't do that in most countries. They are just, it's their own little space. And they definitely don't talk to the neighbors. They don't talk to anybody. They go do their business. They come back and they talk just to their family, and that's it. And it was such a culture shock for a lot of them that it's like, this is what we do.
Yeah. Even in Australia, I can tell you that's where my wife is from. When we go there, I'm rarely in my pocket for anything.
Nice.
They're so hospitable, which is kind of strange. They're more hospitable to strangers and friends rather than their own family.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I lost you. You froze up there for a moment. So if you need to, you're back. Okay. You're back. As I say, if you do get disconnected, just click back on the link that I emailed you, and that'll bring you backstage. So
I got it up and ready, so we're good.
Awesome.
I'm actually a virtual trainer too, so
you're golden then.
Yeah.
Christine White says Darwin was pled the fifth. The fifth fun.
Yeah, my sister-in-law lives there. They're from Melbourne. That's where I live.
Okay.
But yeah, my sister-in-law lives in Darwin. Compared to
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Darwin's good for like a couple of days. That's about it.
I have to be careful. I was going to say something. No, I'm not. I'm going to be very good. I'm going to be good.
I tell you, the opportunities that Marines have, I think servicemen, period. If you serve 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10, whatever have you, I think that what it does, and this is, I had a lot of, students come, they said they struggle going back home because, and I say, well, the problem is you just outgrow your family, right? I said, when you take your leave, you take your vacation time, don't spend it all going back there. Your leave time is for you to vacation, right? And you have to train your family, come see you, come do other things, because sometimes I know I struggle with that when I was in, when, you go back home, yeah, nostalgia, the first 2-3 days is awesome. But after that, they're going back to their lives. Nobody's taking off work. Nobody, you know what I mean? So you're there for another 7 days, probably babysitting cousins and drive around nephews and nieces. And you're like, wait. I'm going beyond this, right? You know what I do or who I'm in charge of?
Right.
So sometimes they struggle with not understanding that you are around the most diverse people on the face of the planet.
Yep.
You're going to grow. And
yeah, you can't help but
yeah,
to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes when you go back, it can be troubling when you don't feel, at home sometimes. It's just, well, the problem is you just outgrew your family a little bit. So sometimes you have to do what I did, take that leadership role and try to bring them along the ride with you, because that happens.
Yeah. And that's not always the case. So, you have those who are like happy to be there, come home and relax. And but again,
certain cultures, especially I do this in my marriage couple encounters too.
You wear many hats.
If mom and daddy don't like you, so some cultures got a doggone hold on their kids.
Oh, that's great.
They're married the right one.
Right. I know. And I try when I know the kids are coming home, I try to take that time off and go do things. Obviously, if it's short notice, not a lot of time I can get, but knowing, okay, we've got the evenings, we've got the weekend, whatever, and let's go get something done and go out and do something outside of the house. And but sometimes they just want to hang out. They don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. And I think it has a lot to do, and this one of the issues we have when Marines go on deployment. Everyone thinks they're all doing the same thing. It's like, absolute. Some are busy and some are not. Because sometimes I have spouses, they get very angry, like, well, my husband's not, or my significant other is not calling me, and my neighbor, he's speaking to her. Well, they're probably doing 2 total different missions, and they're probably sleeping right next to each other. And yet their lives on that deployment is very different.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I try to get the single Marines. I teach a class called Discover Your Right Fit, and making sure that, you may be having a good time with this person. Yeah, the sex is good, you're partying, whatever, but are they going to be able to handle your lifestyle?
Exactly.
Are you marrying the right person? When you leave, can they take care of the bills? Can they take care of the house? Do they know who to call when this happened? It's all these things. They have to be self-sufficient. I know you're having a good time physically, but can you rely on them? Because if you can't rely on them, that could be detrimental to, your career. I've been with my wife. We've been together 30 years, married for 28. I married the right one.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
When you can find somebody that is, you feel you can trust with basically your life, because it's half hers, half yours, right? It's
Right.
all the financials. You guys, you're putting your money in there just as much as she is.
Right.
It's keeping the roof over your head. It's
Yeah.
plumbing issues. It's making sure that things are taken care of. And agreed. So to find that one person that you feel comfortable leaving there by themselves to deal with things is huge.
Yeah.
And when they get married so young, I see this. So I'm on a lot of groups for mothers of Marines, and
Which is
let
a
me-
huge. Oh, they are. I never saw this involvement before of
No.
mothers of service members. It is huge right now.
it is very huge, and a lot. I don't know. I only know when I joined, of course, and how things have evolved. But there, no joke. And I had to have this conversation with my middle child. Okay, is because I had a dream. He got married and didn't tell me. Right? Because this is what all these moms are saying. Like, they find out months later that their son got married and never said a word. And then they're heartbroken. The moms are, right? And I'm like, I'm calling, listen, you do this. I'm telling you what, I at least want you to tell me before you do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm, anything other than at least let me know, because if we have the opportunity, we'd love to be there to support you.
Right.
So, but oh my gosh, and how many relationships that has really hurt is just amazing when you go through and you read all of these. One mom will say something like that, and then all of a sudden there's like 10 more said, "Oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one." No.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of times we get those calls from the moms and things. And to be honest with you, sometimes when you have they're adulting. They don't want to tell you what's going on, especially if you're a little strict on them. We see those that being a little bit even more doing that teenage thing because they really didn't get to do the rebellion thing. Now they can, as an adult, they can do that.
Yep.
But what we try to do, we try to set up these resources for them, and especially those that believe that, oh, I'm going to get married or have a relationship, and it's not the Marine Corps business of what I do. It's like you're setting yourself up for failure. You can't keep it separate. If your spouse don't speak Marine or military service, you're setting them up to fail.
Right.
They should
And
know.
What do you say to those who decide that they're going to get married because they're going to get more money?
I say that's a fool's gold.
Right? Because now they can live off base.
Yeah.
And they get the BAH. However, there's always caveats to this.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
But they're young. They're trying to find their way, and they just hear other people's stories of, hey, go do this because you'll get more money.
And what they don't understand is that, unfortunately, capitalism is going to eat their ass.
Exactly.
Excuse my language.
No, this is your platform. You say what you care to say.
Yeah, because what happens is those real estate people in those places, they know exactly how much your money you're getting. They know what the BAH is. They know it. So that's what they're going to charge you. So now you're not thinking about the utilities and all those other things that come with that.
Yep.
I didn't move off base until I was a master sergeant.
It's a lot like staying living with your parents in the basement.
Yes, I'm like, no. I had been serving 22 years before I moved off base. No, it's like, because again, you think you want that freedom and things, but you don't know what you're really giving up.
Right.
So what we try to do, we also have financial planners that are paid on base that they can go to. Before you buy a car, we tell them as little E1s, E2s, E3s, before you buy a car, go see them. Before you buy a house, go see them. for your budget, because these people are certified in finance and they're free.
Which is awesome. I really feel for those who did not have those individuals in the past.
Hello.
There you go. Case in point.
Yeah, we had to learn everything. And this is what you hope for. Everybody keeps saying that leadership, you treat everyone the same. No, everybody have their favorites. And you treat everyone fairly. But if you're a performer to the umpteenth, maybe you have a officer go and give you some advice on finance, and that's how you get that. But we didn't have a place where we go to and get that education. Absolutely not. You have to have a leader, someone in that leadership position that saw something in you and just readily give you that information. Now, oh my goodness, like I said, and this is the thing. We're talking about billions of dollars putting into this, paying these people to do this.
Yep.
And for some reason, they don't.
It's a lot like as a parent, right? And you tell your kids something and they're like, yeah, whatever. But yet somebody else can tell them and they're like, oh, well, geez, that makes perfect sense. Why didn't anybody tell me that? Yeah. They're newly adults, right? And they have been kicking, screaming, climbing, busting holes in things to get out and be independent. And they're not about to have somebody else tell them what to do and how to do it because they have all the answers.
Especially their parents.
Yeah. Yep. But I think that really is a factor as to why they don't go and ask for help with financial stuff. That in this instance, the Marine Corps offers, right? That's why they just don't, because they'll figure it out on their own. How bad could it be, And
I'm gonna be honest with you. They have a lot more available cash than they used to back in the day. You didn't have privates and lance corporals buying cars. You didn't have. Right. So it's set up to a point where they can easily fail when they're not looking at the bigger picture of their budget. Like, for instance, I tell them all the time, like, this is one of my pet peeves. Why are you going to McDonald's? Why you already paid for your food in the chow hall? Why are you not there? Why are you double spending food? Why are you going to the vending machine? Why are you not just go to commissary and get the bulk what you need? It's those nickel dime themselves into debt.
Yep.
Having all these streaming services not capturing, and it blows my mind when I see young people at the ATM checking their balance.
Yep.
How do you not know how much money you got?
Yep.
But they go there to check their balance. Those little things right there. Now we have educators, and we put them in place actually where it's almost but this is not happening everywhere. But we're purposely through the pipeline are making them sit through these things, at least so they can at least hear it. But that's not happening. But that's not happening everywhere. That's not everyone don't get that, right?
As my daughter-in-law says, or thinking the available balance is the correct amount. Which is, Kristen, 100% true, because yes, that's right. I mean, things don't all, it's not immediate when it comes to the banks, and having things clear, it's not always immediate. So you might have, 2 days ago went and spent some money, and it's not going to clear and actually show and pull out until, say, that following Monday. Yeah. So they think, oh, I've got this amount. No. And now you've just put yourself in the hole.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of things that they just don't really want to think about. Because I know when I was coming up as a little Lance Corporal, but we really couldn't do anything because we just ain't had the money. When your check is like $300, you ain't doing much with that. Yeah. Right? But it's almost to the point where, like, for instance, this amazing retirement thing that they get now, the TSP, the matching.
Oh, right. Yes.
Then you have some that haven't even opened up their accounts to see what the money's doing. It's sitting in the government. It's not doing anything. Just like, you have a retirement that's you need to be watching and learn what that is to get the best benefits. You have people that can teach you that, so we have to sometimes. I've trained a lot more parents, it seems to me, than I have the Marines. It's when you tell your kid,
Yeah. And I know, I have the conversation with mine to, of look, the same thing as far as the commissary and also having food. It's one thing to physically go out and eat, right? And where it's brought to you at the table, even leaving a tip, right? That's bad enough when you already are paying for money at the chow hall. Okay. How about when you decide I'm hungry, but I don't want to go anywhere and I don't want to go to the chow hall. I want somebody to deliver my food. I kid you not. So delivery fees, $20 just to deliver. And you might have a $5 sandwich.
And like I said, and the problem is and I hate saying stuff like this. They're getting so much money now.
Mm-hmm.
Exposable income, because a lot of the parents are still paying for their phones, their insurances, their streaming services. Yep. So they have all this free money so they don't mind spending, $40 here, $40 there, because again, you're going to get it again on the 1st and the 15th, right? So when it comes to that, but then you decide that, I'm in love, I'm about to get married now, right? And you have those those habits, right?
Did you? Okay. You just said that about getting married and now, there's two of you, right? It takes me back to the 80s and Eddie Murphy Raw. I get half, Eddie.
And you know what? I have some male Marines that's in their head. Like, I'm not getting married because I don't want to give up half my stuff. That's what they take from me.
Well, yeah, but oh my gosh, that was just this flash in my head. I just saw him on stage. What? Well, we snuck that in when we rented it, snuck it, when the parents weren't around. Favorite, loved it. But I will never forget that when he starts talking about, getting divorced and taking half of everything. I want half, Eddie.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing that they don't understand too. Once the spouse contacts a unit, you giving up your stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You have no choice in the matter. Yeah, Kristen says, yes, that's right. I'm an American woman now, Eddie. Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I digress.
Yeah. So but I tell you this, what I love about this generation is Generation Z.
Yeah, I can't keep track. What happens after Z?
Generation Alpha right now are in school. These are the kids now.
Alpha.
Yeah, Alpha is going to grade school right now. Generation Z are 18, about 26, 27-year-olds. They're just hitting the workforce, thing like that. Matter of fact, here's a little data for you. 53% of the Marine Corps is Generation Z right now.
Wow.
Even though they only make up 13% of the population in the United States.
That's crazy. Now, and especially where, to me, it's interesting that the numbers are where they are. You think about the fact that it's volunteer, right?
Yes.
And so as far as the numbers of them in the U.S. versus the number in the military is really interesting how they have decided to go that route.
Well, if you kind of look at it, it's always been that way. The biggest part of the military has always been the younger generation. If you look at the data. But what I do appreciate about this generation, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of liking them better than the millennials.
my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, we messed up the millennials. That's Generation X. We messed them up, right? But this, I tell you, this is the problem we're having with the generations. Well, this is what I love about them. Self-care. Not just self-care, but identifying that they are important, whatever. But the problem is that they put too much value on themselves.
Yeah.
It's the entitlement piece.
Yes.
That, I have to explain to them, no, you're private. You're not equal to the sergeant major in no aspect whatsoever.
Right.
And they believe that because you're both human, you're both male, you're both female, that you're on the same ground. It's like you will fail miserably at this career if you think that way. So what I do enjoy about them, though, is when I'm teaching them, they open up. And I think they're starting to be like, for instance, the millennials, they have phones and would never call anyone. They don't use their phones to call people, right?
Right.
But this next generation, even though they don't know how to do the social thing, they want it. They want to FaceTime. They want to socialize. It's just that they got a whole generation before him that didn't tell them how to do it.
Right.
So they struggle in that. So I think, though, because they're so aware and collaboration of each other, that's nothing. They actually do accept, are tolerant of a lot more people than any other generation, I believe.
Yeah.
But the problem is their resiliency. And that's kind of where we're seeing where when it comes to obstacles and things like that, they do one or two things. Either they avoid or sabotage. They don't like confrontation much when they don't have to. So
yeah, they can be sneaky, huh?
Yeah, because they're smart.
Yes.
Oh, because they have all the knowledge at the touch of a finger. And I think that's another one of the things that we're struggling with right now is the critical thinking is not there because they can just Google answers for everything and just pick them. No matter if it's true, just pick an opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Without really looking at the data and critically thinking which one is best.
Right.
But as far as training, whatever, I think I would do very well training Generation Z. I wish I had them.
Yeah. You retired too early.
Oh, wish I had them. No.
You never know.
I was ready to go. No.
So we've got the whole family on tonight. So you know this one. He said, "Thank you for the information Thursday, Master Guns."
Oh, no worries.
So, yep. And let's see, what did Killian say? Okay, yeah, he says he can confirm that these are some of the most inquisitive Marines he's ever had. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I love training them because they don't mind opening up and things like that. Millennials, not so much.
Yeah. And I blame myself. I mean, as a parent, I mean, I'm not the one, obviously, for everyone. I am a mom, yes.
Yes. I'm glad you know it's your fault that we did this.
Right? Yes. I mean, I am not naive enough to think that, we as parents had nothing to do with this because that would be so false. But it comes down even from higher up. Mm-hmm. And in my view, strictly my view, put that out there. It started with government interfering on how we had to raise our kids. No spanking, no this, no that. People were petrified to even look at their child cross-eyed for fear of being thrown in jail. And so then it just stopped, right? Now it's go stand in a corner and, and there's no bite to any of that bark. None.
Exactly. Let me tell you where it came from. Unfortunately, our generation, Gen X, we were raised by them freaking boomers. Right. And so we're the smallest generation, but at the same time, we were not giving any self-worth. Nobody came to our games. We walked, nobody. And the thing about it is that I think when we had our children, we knew what that felt like. Being a latchkey kid, and it was out of necessity that our parents, either the women got divorced because civil rights. Cause a lot of people like, I don't have to be with this asshole no more, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Economy's not doing well, so both parents are working. So the kids are kind of fending for themselves.
Yep.
Right. And so I remember growing up and thinking my parents were the meanest. They would make you do things and not give you the reason why.
Yep.
And that was the biggest thing, because I said so. Well, if you had taught us the lessons, I think we may have probably come out a little bit better. So when we had ours, what did we do?
Yeah.
See?
But you know what's interesting though? So I'm right there on the cusp of X and the boomers.
Right.
And I feel like I've got a little bit of both there. Right? You've got to, and I was always one of those very hard worker. And my views were always so different than the rest of my families. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't hopping from job to job to job. It was about loyalty to where you were working. Wow. And doing the best that you could do for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Not just for the person that you're working for, the company you're working for, but more internally to better myself. And it's interesting because I can kind of see, I straddled both sides of that. And then the fact that you mentioned where, we were told, because I said so, I have to throw this out here because I did that to my son not that very long ago. And I did it because it seemed like every time I would say, hey, could you come do this, please? It was always an argument or a fight. Why? And it's like, and I got tired of having to explain myself. Well, it's your chore. It's at this time of night. It hasn't been done yet. It's like, come on, kid. You're old enough to know why it needs done. So finally it was like, because I said so.
But they're taking their cues from the rest of the society, what's happening out there also, right?
Yes. And
like I said before, I think I remember vividly going to all my daughter, all the games I can go to, and I know that my thing was like, I'm not going to raise my kids the way I was raised. Now, some of the stuff is good, but the majority of it, like for instance, if you're hungry, you go get something to eat. We were restricted. You didn't go in the refrigerator. You didn't do, it was just like everything was done by permission. It was just, you were just happy that you were taken care of, period, right?
Right. Yes.
That they remembered you, right?
and as I remember too, so I would go to my friends after school and we would study, and both of her parents were working full time, and they actually owned their own businesses. And so it was a lot of fend for yourself. Yeah. And so we had to learn how to cook to be able to have that food. And that's one of those things that, I'm happy to say we at least attempted to get our kids to learn how to cook stuff. So I at least know they won't starve to death because they'll always have soup. But, so it is, I feel that. And I still struggle with occasionally the younger generation's mindset because I was working for a major corporation years ago. Mm-hmm. And this was prior to the millennials really starting to get into the workforce. And we had somebody come in from HR and wanted to start talking about the different generations, much like you do, right? And talking about the differences and how we need to connect. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is a bunch of hooey. I really did, because I was like, why can't people think the same way like me and think, being proud of the job that you do? Why do we have to kowtow to these new people coming in to the same job and make exceptions for them when we didn't get those exceptions, right? This was my mentality. Right. And it was like trying to learn all of these different things. And it was starting then afterwards. I went back and I'm thinking about this in my head, and, and I'm irritated because it's like, I don't understand it. But you stop and you think about it, and it's like, yeah, we did. We had, the original that other generation where if they didn't show up to work every day and stay, etc., they were immediately fired. And they were the only ones at that point were the males that were working. Females were stay at home, and they had how many kids and so on and so forth, and how things have just moved on, and going from the boomers and wanting to have to our generation having that balance of work and family, right, and so on. And it makes more sense. It still, does make me chuckle when I look at them, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. If you only knew what we had to go through.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of, cynicism and jealousy and things like that. And because, again, our generation, because of what we went through, where our skin is a lot tougher.
Yes.
And sometimes we judge others when they don't have the same toughness or resiliency. So what I have to do is have people, especially leadership, and to pause when you have that, because a person going to feel what they feel.
Right.
And just like you have a Marine, sailor, airman, whatever they're going through that's causing them to be this, to not be them. You got to be there to support and say, okay, we have these programs or whatever. But what you can't do is just say your feelings are not valid, or you weak because you have those feelings.
Yep.
And that's the reason why a lot of our members are not seeking help. Because some of us sabotage that by our attitude towards them. Yeah. I had a friend, one of my mentees, this guy I've been advising him for over 10 years, and now he's in my seat as a master gunnery sergeant. And he came to me last year. He's like, these kids today, I was like, so what are you going to do? What are you going to, it's like, yeah, okay, you feel that way, but you still got to get that Marine to charge that hill against that machine gun. You still got to do that. So you can't say, well, they ain't the way I want them to be. It's your job to lead them on how to get there. So if you got to inspire them, that's what you got to do. You can't do it the same way that was done to you. Right. They perceive the world a little bit differently. They don't have the same experiences in the world. We made things, every generation, make it easier for the next generation, right? So after I told him that, he was just like, oh, man, I knew I shouldn't have came and talked to you about this. Because I'm going to give it to you, brother. It's like, you have to figure it out. You just can't say this generation sucks and just let it go, because you still have a mission to do. You still got to get him to the machine gun. How do you get someone, and this is a question that I ask leaders, how do you get someone to trust your word in the most way where it could be harmful to them? That's a Marine.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be some times I have to make a decision. Will this person do what the hell I just said? This generation, they're going to pause.
Yes, just like that. Yes.
So you have to figure it out on how you get them there. You have to evolve. You have to change.
Right. You do.
I think that's something that a lot of us that as older leaders will ever struggle with. How do we do that?
Well, and I think it is, and that's not going to change overnight.
Yeah.
Now, how is it that you go around and you train other Marines, staff, etc., on on how to, well, part of their creed, right? That adaptation. How do they adapt to the newer generations? And I'm sure you've seen kind of similar to what I've said is like, really? Seriously? Right? It's kind of instinctive because it's like, well, we did it and look at how we are, toughen up and et cetera, et cetera. But what's the overall consensus that you feel in the classes?
What I feel, especially for my leaderships, when I'm teaching colonels and sergeant majors and master, when I'm teaching the senior leadership, what I tell them is that you can no longer look at a group and go, my leadership style would fit all of them.
Yeah.
It ain't going to work. Now you have to be invested with the individuals because we're all different temperaments. I'm bringing back Myers-Briggs now, right? We got different temperaments. People are motivated different ways. But guess what? If you do one of your leadership traits was get to know my Marine, if you know your Marine, like one of our principles is, right? One of our principles are know your Marines. I know their temperament, so I know how to motivate them. And it's going to be different for each one of them. I may have to do that. Unfortunately, you can't get in a group and say you all going to do this and you're going to feel this way about it. This generation is not accepting that because this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a whole culture of mediocrity. We'll do just what you expected, just what you want, nothing more. So in the Marine Corps, you're supposed to get the best of, right? Constantly excelling. That's what Marine Corps, that's what we stand for, right?
Yep.
They want the challenge. They joined for the challenge.
That's right.
So you got to keep reminding them of that and motivate them to get there. You got to inspire them. So could it be difficult? Yes. But if you educate yourself, and I think that's the biggest problem that we have right now. Some of us are who we are, and we think that our way is the only way. And we don't educate ourselves to the different personalities, communication, generations. That I'm telling you, if you learn a person's temperament, oh my God, it would be such a better place. But no one wants to put the time and energy sometimes into an individual. And that's what this generation wants.
They really do. And now I've been in management with similar leadership, and I have dealt with 30, 40 at one time on a daily basis. And it's very difficult because they know what needs done, but some of them are like, nah, I don't want to do it. Or I only want to put in half the effort. Yeah. I want overtime, and that's how I'm going to do it, right? And as the leaders, we have to find creative ways to get them motivated. I mean, I'm one of those. This is how I did it, and I didn't know this. So to be fair, I had no clue about this. But I had a gentleman who, when I first started, said he was going to continue to push overtime until he got like $14 an hour, and that he was only hired on to pick parts, right? That was it. Mm. And I sat there and thought, beating my head against the wall, how am I going to get him motivated? Well, finally I said, okay, I'm going to move him from packing stuff, and I'm going to send him over. Now, this was graveyard shift. I'm going to send him across the way to the annex building, 800,000 square foot building, where the lights didn't come on until there was movement, right? So it was dark until, and then the light. Did not know that man was scared of the dark. And let me tell you what, he moved so fast. It was incredible. And then once he got all the big stuff brought over and attached to everybody's orders they were working, he'd go help somebody till 7:30 in the morning. And then it was like, okay, you can go now. You've done your job and then some. It's like, but they're not done. Nope, you're good. You did what you were supposed to do. And he kind of got the hint. And then it was like, okay, but it was always these little fights that you had to it seemed like little fights you had to work your way through. And how can I get the point across and understand and have them understand that there's consequences, but first we're going to work on this. We're going to have some teaching moments before, all these consequences come out.
Right.
But it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, and the thing about it is a little bit more hard work when you're the authority figure and you just can't say, do it.
Right.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
And so it's like, because, I hear it all the time, like, well, just about it, just should do it. Like, but are you really trying to get the best out of them? If you're really trying to get the best of them, then you have to figure what motivates them, right? What's going to get them there. And then, of course, you got some people just trash. You got to be accepting of that too.
Yep. That is facts right there. 100%. You're going to have it on both sides. You're going to have the ones that excel and they're self-motivated. They don't need somebody telling them what to do, how to do it, because they know they paid attention, all the way through, and they understand, I need to do this because in the long run, I don't follow those orders. I don't do what I'm supposed to do. Somebody can die, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. But until I think a lot of those too, and I can be totally wrong on this. So that people that tend to be a little bit more self-motivated may have, and I say this because I don't know, it's just kind of how I was. Trauma in your life, right? You have trauma as a child, trauma, growing up, whatever the case may be, tends to, as you said, thicken the skin. Mm-hmm. And so you're able to deal with things that come at you easier than somebody who has never had to deal with any trauma. And now all of a sudden they're put into this position of people yelling at them and screaming at them to get this done and get that done. And they can't hardly put one foot in front of the other without tripping. And yet we're throwing all these different things at them all at once and they can't function well. So I think for myself, as far as, trauma at an early age and then being able to turn around and have that self-motivation and better myself, I can speak personally that to me helped me. I mean, not that you ever want anybody to have to go through trauma. You just don't. But in the same sense, if you're going to go one or two ways with it, you're either going to let it just totally sink you mentally, or you're going to, pull up those bootstraps and you're going to move forward. Yeah. And you're going to put every effort you can because you don't want to see yourself start spiraling.
Well, they just mentioned the 4 lenses right here, right? So that's my temperament class. So we actually have a temperament of people that following orders is very natural to them. They do very well with dealing with the authority wants. They're very reliable people. They're very hardworking. Not the most fun people in the world.
Yep.
But when it comes to structure and order, that's how they excel. So you do have people that are natural, and to be honest with you, a lot of them are military. You're talking about your military, your coaches, your surgeons, people that need step 1, step 2, step 3. Yep. Give me my boundaries. I know my boundaries. Sensory judgment is what it is. The 5 senses, because it is what it is. I don't need to give me a freaking template. Don't you ask me to create anything. Something already exists, right? So those type of people, when you realize you have someone like that, they're very good workers, right? They're very good. But unfortunately, all of us ain't made that way.
Right.
So what about the one that, the other one, the direct opposite of them, the one that just love fun and excitement, and that's what life is all about to them. How do you get them more structured? Well, it's hard. So how do you motivate them? So I think that when we're dealing with some of our veterans out there that are struggling to get the help that they need, right? A lot of times, like I said, I think it's just that. Once we know their temperament, it's just how you approach them. People just need to be approached differently. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, one of our problems right now is how do we market stuff? What do people want? But you're dealing with we got 5 generations living right now. We all live in different ways. So in the military services, you have 4 generations. They all want it different ways. So how do we reach them? Well, now some want the QR code. Some want the website. Well, some of them don't even like the website. Some still want flyers. Some of them want to take I stopped doing flyers.
I do catch myself occasionally when I'm irritated, like with a bank or something like that for something. It's like, they're like, go look on the website. It's like, what do you do to people who don't have a computer or a smartphone?
You and I think we're Gen X. We think like that.
Yes.
Give me a flyer, right? I want a flyer.
Yes. Give me something in writing that I can look at, that I don't have to keep turning it on and off.
And unfortunately, we're not the majority anymore. So.
I know. Well, we were one. Yeah, we're small little group.
But so the question is, how do you get the information out there where they would put upon themselves to go seek that, right? So do you do the QR code? Do you do but this is what I say. It takes us. Like, for instance, when I get a question like, how come we don't have anybody coming to these things? Well, if the commander don't require it, they ain't coming.
That's right.
So the same thing with veterans. If their families, the ones close to them, ain't telling them that they need to do this, they ain't coming.
Yeah. And
so it takes us to fix that, to help with that. Because again, trying to depend on social media to do it it's not working. It's not, and it's not going to work. One of our biggest things right now is we got a lot of spouses in the military that are not taking part or caring about what's going on in the military services. But then when their loved one deploy, they don't know what the hell to do now. It's like, well, you're supposed to come to this pre-deployment brief. You're supposed to do this, supposed to do that. But their service members not telling them these things. Because I'll be honest with you, my wife had to be a little bit self-reliant on getting information because I'm Marining. I'm going to work. I hear some stuff, whatever, but I'm getting home and it goes here and out here. 30 years did that. So you have to choose a spouse or you have to choose a partner that's going to be self-reliant to understand this lifestyle. Because again, there's billions of dollars out there for you.
Really, there is.
Yeah, you're looking for a job. We got the Family Members Employment Assistance Program. Help you with your resume. Get you a job, right? All right, your kids. We got programs that help you raise your kids. Give you advice, give you free stuff for your new baby. There's things on the basis or into the in the system that'll help you. Now for you, I'm gonna give you a website. This website is DoD wide for all services, and whatever service they're in, they can click on their service. It's a one-stop shop place.
Awesome.
And it's called Military One Source. MilitaryOneSource.com. It is
ONE.
Yeah, yes. Military One Source.
.org.
Yep. I think it's .org. If you type in Military One Source, it's going to pop up. And a lot of times, if you put down the region you're in, it'll sometimes take you straight to the base that you're at websites, right? And all the information. So if they have anything about if they have ideations, VA, counseling, financial, anything, moving, PCSing. It's a one-stop shop for all military things. And one of my jobs was when I was an information referral officer, I updated the sites for here. The information.
Now, is this for active duty military?
For active and veterans.
Okay. Because there's one, it's militaryonesource.mil.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will.
There's stuff for veterans in there also.
Okay. Excellent. And I'll get that put out here. I'm going to put it in the chats for everybody. And then also I will put it in the resources. So hang tight here a second.
And they're still building. It's becoming to a point where they're really, I've met several other people who work for Military One Source. These are usually veterans or dependents and spouses of veterans. So they're there to just help on any and every occasion.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there it is there, www.militaryonesource.mil. And again, it's also in the chats. If y'all want to write it down, feel free. I'll leave this up here for just a few minutes for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's great information to help because I've got 2 Marines, and I know others will have, different branches, Marines, it doesn't matter, but they're going to need resources. Right. And this is excellent information.
Yeah. And a lot of times, depending on the resource you want, they're connected to all the bases. They're connected
awesome.
to all the bases and regions. So just about anything you look up on there, you'll find the information. Now you have to be a little website savvy, probably. And sometimes, this is what we struggle with too. Sometimes you don't know what you need or what you want.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the struggle right there. You don't know what you're asking for. And sometimes that can be, I know I dealt with that when I was going through what I was going through too. I knew something was different or wrong or whatever have you. I just didn't know I don't know what I need help on. I don't know why this is an issue, so it could be that sometimes also.
Yeah. And I think it's, as you said, it's really difficult when, the command doesn't really pass it down, doesn't make it mandatory for people to go to any of the classes. And so you're not getting the information to know what it is you need.
Yeah. And
this circle.
Yeah, because you got to look at the generation of the commanders now. They're the generation that, you can figure it out. You can Google it. You got it, right? Yeah. The millennials are in charge right now. So they're making the majority of the leadership. I think there's only like maybe 4 boomers left. And like 11% of us left over, right?
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So their take on some things are just a little bit more different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so can you go into a little bit more of those 4 lenses? What are the different lenses, and what do they all represent?
So in Myers-Briggs, they used this. It's actually based on science, and what they did a study of behaviors, and so I think they came up with like 16 different personalities or whatever. So what 4 lenses did, it grouped them up a little bit tighter, right? So you have four temperaments. I don't like saying personalities. I like saying temperaments because you are who you are, right?
Right.
And so what we talk about is we take a test and we see which one is your dominant, which is most like you. The first one is the critical thinker. And this is a green lens. And these are the people that are considered the assholes of the world. They talk in sarcasm. But this is the reason. There are the people that keep us evolving as humans. They're the wise. These are our scientists, our biologists, our chemists. These are the ones that it's all about the analyses, logical thinkers, right? And their left brain, they task oriented. Okay.
Yep.
When it comes to relationships, not so much. So that's why they're socially awkward. They don't know and they love their alone time, right? So then you also have on the left side of the brain, you also have what we call the sensory judgment. I talked to them about them before. These are gold lenses, right? And they see the world as they like it. They like structure. They like order. They like rules. They're all about organization. Fun for them is checklists, completing task. That is fun.
It's fulfillment.
Yes.
Get it right.
Absolutely. Very hard workers, dependable, and they're the reason why we have policemen and things like that, right? To keep order.
Yep.
And then opposite of them, you have what we call the relationship people. All right. So for the opposite of the gold, you have what we call the sensory perceivers. This is the orange lens. These are the reason why we have rules. Right? These people.
Killian.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Frog in my throat.
Yeah, they're all about fun and excitement. They're all about freedom. They're the doers of the world. These are the ones that get it done. It just they're probably not going to do it the way you want it done, but they'll get it done.
Right.
They are all about. These are our comedians. These are our firefighters. These are our grunts.
It's funny that you say comedian, firefighter.
Yeah, because it's all about the risk, the behavior, the adrenaline, the dopamine, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So they're the ones that if you give this, how I like to say it, like a YouTube video, right? You ever try to see what to do on YouTube? Well, a gold lens person will watch a YouTube on how to say make laundry soap, right? They'll watch it. They'll pause it. The first step, they'll pause it. And they'll go that step. They come back. Watch. Oh, pause. They go do that. Come back. Because they got to hit all the steps. An orange lens will watch it through. Okay, got it. Might have some pieces left over. Not going to do all the steps. Is it functional? But then we're good.
To see, I have to pause at every step, not because I have to make sure I hit well, I do, but it's because I'm old and I can't remember what I just
All right. And then of course they're relationship people too, but they're more of our athletes, competitive things. They love people, but they want to be the one. Right.
The class clowns you've got are in 100%.
Yes. And these, like I said, these are our rock stars, comedians, athletes, those people, right? Our rock climbers, things like that. And then you have opposite of the green lenses, you have what we call the blue lenses, and these are our tree huggers. These are our people lovers. These are the ones that make sure everybody's okay. These are nurses. These are our artists. These are actually some of the greatest leaders that were ever on the face of the planet. These are Martin Luther King's, our Mother Teresa's. They love the human being experience. They listen. They're the only people that listen to listen, not listen to fix, not listen to solve. So these four temperaments I teach. And when you realize what a person's temperament is, they all are motivated different ways.
Yes.
You communicate with them different ways. They like to be recognized different ways. And again, not to put people in a box. I always say that too. These are normal behaviors, right? Because some people have traumas. Some people have certain values they were, raised. Because I have a colleague right now. You would think she's an orange lens, all about order, all these things, right? No, she was raised that way. But when she's herself, very loosey and loved all the orange things and all those things, right? So for her, you're all the lenses, but your dominant is who you are before you step out of bed and have to deal with people, right? And so when you deal with people, your stresses are those other colors that'll come through. Like so if I'm gold and my thing is structure and I'm organized, whatever, but my secondary is blue, well, when I'm feeling stressed, I need to talk to somebody. I want to slow down. I want to get into my feelings a little bit, right? And that's what it's all about. I teach that. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so I teach that to the leadership and to the juniors. And so when you have someone in your shop that you're responsible for, or someone that's leading you, oh, they're this temperament. Oh, left brain people, task oriented. You don't come to them on the weekend and go, how was your weekend? No,
Right.
they're task oriented. So they come off kind of brass, maybe. So you take that personally, like, I got a problem with it, they're an asshole. But you didn't see that they're left brain people.
Yep.
Or now you got somebody, every time they come in the morning, they got to talk for 10 or 15 minutes and socialize and all. They're relationship people.
Yeah, they are.
So if you understand that, you don't take it personally. Now, guess what? As a leader, I have a subordinate that's a relationship person. Damn, when I come in on the weekend, maybe I have to talk a little bit so they don't feel ostracized.
Yep.
Or if I have a left brain, say I'm a relationship person, I'm the boss. Everybody should be happy around me, right? But I got left brain people.
That's
now
right.
I gotta know that I gotta go and talk to them about task work. That's how I get them. So that's what I teach. If you can recognize what the temperament is of your people around you, you can actually set them up for success, because now you're making their environment or their task something natural for them to
Yes.
excel in.
Killian says, clearly I'm orange dominant, but I feel like I'm at a truck stop trying on all the sunglasses.
Orange lens. It's a fun course. I'm certified to teach it. It's one of our we get called to do those the most, because it really does show you about human communication. And after you do the course, right, for like probably about a month, you go around blue lens, green lens, seeing
Yes, indeed.
judging people, just labeling people as you go across.
Yep. So in the early 2000s, we didn't have lenses. It was very similar. I mean, but it was called what it was, right? So we had these little 4 squares and on one. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. And it was like analytical leader, yep. And it was interesting, the crossover, and it was 50-50 for me as to analytical and the leader portion was 50-50.
You're left brain.
100%. 100%. And then it was the other stuff underneath. Now, when it came to relationships, it was like, that's not important. But,
Yeah.
So I get 100%, but what you're saying, and I love the fact that it's evolved to something as simple as color.
Yeah,
really,
because it all comes from Myers-Briggs. This was done like 1942, I believe.
Yes,
and
how long?
The thing now, though, is a lot of science want to debunk it, and the reason why is, unfortunately, they use that data to restrict people.
Yes.
So now you got people hiring people based upon, well, you can't be this, you can't be that because you're temperate. And it could be, when you use it that way, I think it's cruel. And I don't like it being used that way. Even on MSG duty, when the Marines want to be a Marine security guard, you do have to take a personality test. And if you come up a certain type of way, you're not going.
Oh my gosh. Kristen wants to know, is there an online course option?
I believe there is. I'm pretty sure you'll have to pay for that. But I think that there is a course online that you can take from that, but I'm pretty sure that it'll be a cost to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
there's some YouTube videos on it too.
Oh, well, see, there you go.
Yeah, you look up 4 lenses. There's quite a few YouTube videos that talk about the different temperaments and things.
Gotcha. So Saga out there says he's green dominant, a natural born a-hole. Forget your mom's watching here, kid. Oh no, you're
Yeah, he's high green too, like super duper.
Yep.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, you should have seen him. Oh my.
Yeah, we had some fun. I'll just, we had some other fun.
Well,
Because not only is he green, his secondary is orange. And we had a conversation about that. I'm not gonna say it, I'm gonna let him say it.
Oh, yeah. Well, he did that. Like he had called and told us all of this, and it was really intriguing. So definitely when I wanted to know more and hear it from you about it, because although I'm familiar with it, just in a different form, I thought it would be really interesting for our viewers to be able to go through and have that conversation and hear what it was all about, because it does. You do exactly right. You're walking through going, well, green, orange.
So I guess you say it's okay to say it. So, well, one of my things is there's one temperament combination that is usually what they found out that psychopaths have this combination.
So he told you, I'm sure, about what myself and his grandma had thought maybe he would become. Yes, gotcha. Move on.
Well, he tested, validated.
See, we moms know our kids. Killian, that's why he's so weird. Oh my gosh. But in truth, I think people who are really, really smart, right, that it's going to vary on what they're going to do with that.
Yeah. And what it is that if you're secondary, like you said, if you're that intuitive thinking and you're secondary when you're under stress is orange, risky behavior like that. Because if you look at some of ours, Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, they were extremely smart and they're very charismatic.
Yeah.
And that's Orange Lens, all about the people, know how to influence with their energy and be charismatic. And how did Jeffrey Dahmer get that? Yeah, he charmed the hell out of them. That's how he was able to do that. And so when you look at that temperament, it could be a very, dangerous combination if you have low maturity. And we talk about low maturity too. Everybody thinks maturity has everything to do with experience and age. No, maturity is how you react. If you react in a sense of is about me, most likely is low maturity. But if you react in a way where it's the we or us, that means you're thinking about the environment and others, and you probably have a better decision on that.
Right.
So that's another one of the things that when I do the 4 lenses, it's not so much just about teaching your temperaments. I'm also going to teach you a little bit about the human condition too, with the high and low maturities, because whatever color you are, there's some positives and negatives that you should be aware of.
Right.
And so.
And would you say that environment or how you're raised can help decide what side of that you're going to go on to?
Your dominant is your dominant. That's just who you are. Now, the other 3, your environmental selves, absolutely. Because like I told you before, you are who you are. And then you are who you are when you deal with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of us, based upon our environments, that's who we are when we're stressed or at work or whatever. But when exactly who we want to be, who we actually are, and sometimes trauma can change that too. Like you can have an orange lens that is that doesn't like to be around people, don't like sports, whatever, because they're dealing with the trauma. So even though they might not be relationship people, they still like to go do those activities. They still like to do things. It just made them do it on their own because of the trauma that's there, right?
Right.
Like we talked about introvert and extrovert. Everybody think an introvert is someone that likes to be alone. No, an introvert means that, yes, they're alone, but only to recharge. You can have someone that is like for me, everyone believes I'm an extrovert. I'm like, no, I'm not. At the end of the day, I'm done peopling. I'm done. I want to be by myself. Yeah. So it's all about how you recharge. Because you know people that after a hard day's work, the first thing they go like, I gotta go get a beer. I gotta go play some ball. Those are extroverts.
Find something. Yeah.
That's how they recharge. It's all about how you recharge yourself for the next thing or the next deal, whatever. That's where that comes from. And some of those characteristics that they do, they believe that's because they do that, they're extra. No, not really. That's not what that is. So I teach that also. It's like, he's such an introvert. Like, how you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting because you would think, like, for myself, having a channel and putting myself out there for others to come and join me and stuff, that I would be.
Yeah, they'll definitely call you extrovert. Yeah, absolutely. But
and I am not. I love my peace and quiet. I'm very comfortable in my own skin and my own mind and just relaxing. I don't have to go out all the time, but there's times when my husband will tell you that I'm like, I got to go, let's go do something. I mean, that's not what I normally say, right? So when I say let's go do something, he knows. It's like, she needs out of the house now. She's done being in her own skin and she needs out.
Right, absolutely.
So what would you have to say to those who are considering joining the military and, things that they maybe should prepare themselves for mentally, as well as emotionally?
The biggest thing is, first of all, understand why you join. And understand this. I teach this all the time. No one should be able to make you feel negative or a certain way about yourself.
Right.
When you set a goal, no one can keep you from that goal. A lot of times, I see this often. Marines come in wanting to do a career, and they allow one asshole deter them from their goal.
Yep.
And it's difficult because, again, you're in a place where there's a rank structure. If you understand that, yes, as a lower end, yes, somebody can come and scream and yell at you in your face, whatever. But how does that change who you are and what you're going to do or your work ethic? How do you allow somebody to have that much power over you? That's how I teach that.
Yep.
I always start off the class sometimes. I say, have anybody know anybody right now that as soon as you see them, they suck all the energy out of you? Oh, I know somebody. How do you let somebody control you like that? So that's how I approach it. So what I would tell somebody who's coming in, have the goal of why you join, right? But don't allow temporary people to deter you from that, because it's temporary. Everybody leaves.
And I think that's the hardest part for people joining. They don't know that, right? Yeah. That they don't know that there's, in a lot of cases, there's rotations and people will change and go to different areas.
Location and people. I'm telling you, my first duty station was Barstow, California. How in the hell do you re-enlist after that? Because none of my friends did.
That's pure grit and determination right there.
Because I knew that wasn't the Marine Corps. That wasn't all there was to offer. And guess what? I have a real great appreciation for Barstow, because that's where I met my friends. That's where we grew up.
Right.
All the Rodney King and stuff was happening during that time. And all, the OJ Simpson, that was a good time.
Oh my gosh. I remember watching that. Yes. Lord. That's crazy.
Yeah. So what I would tell them is don't allow somebody. Now, I'm not saying about positive. Yes, some people can inspire you, but don't let negative people inspire you in a way that is detrimental to you. Because unfortunately, it happens more than you think.
So being strong-minded is key, because
I don't know when you say strong-minded, I don't like saying that. I just say that what I'd rather say than strong-minded is just knowing who you are.
okay,
You don't like authority? Well, don't give them the authority over you to feel that way.
right. But that doesn't mean to, it still means you still need to respect those in charge and et cetera, et cetera. So, because
and
nowadays,
also,
go ahead.
You have influence in your low rank. It's all about your attitude. If I'm a leader giving you tasks and you do those tasks well and without attitude, that helps. So when you do have a suggestion, when you do want to make a change, whatever, now I'm more acceptable because you at least doing that part. But when I see you doing the bare minimum, doing exactly what you're told, or when I see you that every time I see a certain attitude toward you,
exactly,
it changes. So I try to let them know that you have a chance to be influential, even at the lowest rank.
Yeah.
But it's all about mindset and attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's very valid points there, because not allowing somebody to dictate how you should be feeling, or dictating your mind to failure, sabotaging, it really comes down to you, right? And your own mental strengths. But in addition, you've got to be able to respectfully deal with it, as opposed to just coming out and.
Yeah, they taught this in boot camp, the 14 traits of a leader, bearing and tact. It's two of those things.
See,
so you got to have tact. You have that bearing. Means that bearing is there's no emotion in it. It's unfortunate that I tell them that they're going to be assholes. You're not going to have a good leader all the time.
Right.
Not. And JJ did tie buckle. There you go. Those are 14 traits right there.
Look at you go, kid.
Yeah. So you have to be prepared to just do your goal, whatever that is. And your goals can be whatever. Everybody always ask the question, what is success to you? That's what they got to determine. If success may be, just to do the 4 years and get out, that's okay. But don't let nobody deter you from that, because no one, and if somebody mistreat you like horribly, there's avenues for that. So there's no excuse for you to allow somebody to change your mindset on who you are and how you want to perform.
Right. And unfortunately, some of us, it took years to learn that.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have all of that. Growing up, it especially as latchkey kids and such, we learned by doing, right? Yeah, you didn't have all those people like they have now helping along the way and giving the advice and helping to prop you up. It was you propped yourself up, or that was it. So it's taken a long time for me to be able to have enough mindset to say, I can do this, right? Because the older generations, it was a lot of negativity, right?
Yeah.
As far as, pointing out everything that was not good, that they didn't do right, etc. And so, again, being on that cusp of things, you get that. And we in turn tell our kids, we're proud of them, we praise them more. But then, we still, as that generation, missed a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, what's our strength is we're adaptable. We saw all the technology, but we still know the old way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we know the foundations and roots of things where they don't have that, and maybe they don't need it. I'm not sure. But I think that that's what make us a little bit more able to maneuver in the changes. Because we've been doing it. We've had to adapt to change our entire lives.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I look back at all of this, everything that we have seen to this point, and I wonder, like my grandmother, right? Here she was, she passed away, she was 86, and the things that she had seen and how in the world she must have felt going through all of this, right? Back in, born back in the 20s and candles and some odd and end electricity and an outhouse.
But this is the thing, the traditionalists back then didn't have to function in today's, if that makes sense.
Right.
They didn't have to function in how things, we're still out in the workforce. We're still making laws. We're still a heavy part of the society and civilization where they kind of just sit back and kind of, like you said, watch it like, what the hell?
Exactly. I just think of my grandmother, like I said, just going through and looking at this stuff. I mean, and the same with anybody from that generation nowadays, just going, what were they thinking? Yeah. Why did they do that? I mean, everything was fine the way it was.
Yeah, because if you think back then, and this is another thing too, it's just, of course, with our technology, everything, it didn't take much to live. Things didn't cost, everyone wasn't trying to be rich.
Right.
If you had a store, that was a service. You weren't rich. If you had an auto shop, that was a service. Everything was a service for the community.
Right.
If it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so then when it got to the point where, like now, nobody produces anything. Everybody sells it out. I come up with an invention, I'm going to sell it to the highest bidder. That's how you make it now.
Yeah.
Right? So no one owns anything anymore. Right. So for me wanting to do something in the neighborhood or whatever, if I'm not making money in that, I can be shut down if I'm not competitive.
That's right.
Even though I'm doing this awesome service, but I'm being bought out or by competition, whatever. And I'm not trying to get rich off of it, but if I don't have that mentality, it's not going to last.
Isn't it crazy? I tell you how things just evolve over time, and and we just as humans have to learn to adapt. So, if anybody's got any questions for James, let's go ahead and get those out there now. And then if you have any kind of final thoughts for anybody watching or who will watch later, please feel free to share.
I think that the one thing that I see sometimes for especially our veterans is that I always put in my head that I am the reason why the Marine Corps is great, not the other way around.
That's right.
It was the best of you. You did that. So when you're struggling, trying to figure it out while you're out there, because I struggle there, I'm not going to say anything is all cream because the work ethic that we do is not normal, even though it's normal to us.
Right.
And sometimes trying to navigate in a society where everyone is not doing their best possibly around you or are not being held accountable. the way around
Yeah.
you, just understand that you come from a place that's a little bit elite. And what we did is not the real world. That's something that's special and it's not normal. And if you understand that, then you won't take others' shortcomings so personally.
Right.
And I even struggle with that right now as I'm speaking to you.
Yeah.
Even as I speak to you.
It's difficult because you see things in a different light, and from the discipline that's been ingrained in you, right? To see things a certain way, compartmentalize things a certain way, to come out and we're back into civilian life, and it's kind of a free for all.
Yeah.
So I get it. I do. I absolutely do. So Jason says, thank you for everything, Master Guns, especially for the time you spent with Lance Corporal Hagstrom.
Oh, that was fun. That was a pleasure. That was fun. And it kind of, doing stuff like that make me want to take a job getting back into the actual section, the actual shop.
Well, I think the information that you've put out there, I think it's great. I think that it will lead to additional conversations outside of just this show. Obviously, we saw him going on about it and the different colors and such in the comments. So I think people will start, if they haven't already, continue to have that conversation, hopefully on down the line. So I thank you very much for that.
Right. So just to let you know, every Marine Corps base, everything that I've discussed, any training workshops I talked about tonight, every Marine base and a lot of the other services base have these services where you can take these classes free of charge.
Awesome.
They have trainers that are there just waiting on you to schedule things either within your section, or if a spouse calls up and say, I would like to do a class like this. Now, what I usually say, hey, can you get somebody else to come with you? And I can do it in the evenings. I give training on the weekends, whenever you want it. I know Marine Corps Family Team Building will do it for you. We'll make it happen. So just understand that if you go on the base websites, they have all these trainings out there for you. And I always say this, especially when it comes to relationships, if you're in a marriage, whatever, the reason why me and my wife are still together is that we continue to invest in the marriage. I teach this stuff and we still go to coupling classes to know more about communication and things, because we still man and woman.
Right. I get you. I hear you. Yep.
I don't make an assumption at all that I know what she's talking about. Right. Even though we wear the same colors at least 4 times a week, we walk out the house looking like twins. Like, what are you doing? But although we grow individually, our goal is still the same. So we do those, put those little nickels and dimes in our love bank, every day. So when something happens, there's something left over. The change may fall out, the piggy bank will crack. You lose a lot of coins, but there's some coins left. And that's what will keep you together, those little coins. And you have to do that on a daily basis. And so these, all these workshops and training, anything dealing with relationships, resiliencies, communication, anything dealing with self-care, temperament, those are all available on most bases, and it's absolutely free, but you have to be diligent and ask for those things, because again, we try to market.
That's right.
But it's just, if the commander doesn't require it, they're not.
That's
coming.
right. So Killian says that this has been super informative. He thinks his training company in Virginia could learn from this. So Killian, you now have some tools there at your disposal. So be sure to go take a look. From the sounds of it, you may have these courses available to you there.
Yeah.
So take a look. And as well, Remember militaryonesource.mil as well. So you can go out there and search for things specific if you kind of have an idea, or you might be able to just kind of scroll through and see what's offered. I'm assuming, I don't know, but any other questions out there for James? I'll give you another 30 seconds if you have some. But I definitely want to thank you again. So some really good information, very informative, and it does. It takes me back some years to going over this. Yeah, and really going through it again, because it's nice to have it fresh in your mind again.
Yeah.
So Lance Corporal says, thank you, Master Guns.
All right. No worries.
I'm sure he'll be showing up in some other classes. I've no doubt. So.
I'm hoping I get a chance to go over again. I'm not very sure. I got something else burning on thing, but you can always contact me if you need anything. He has my card. So
excellent.
He's got that life. When I give it's for life. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And really, really appreciate it. So I'm not seeing any other questions out there. So, I say that. And then, his response was, yes, sir. Yeah. So I am going to go ahead, I think, and we are going to wrap this up. And James, if you don't mind, if you can just kind of stay here with me for just a few moments more.
Okay.
And everybody, I appreciate you coming out tonight. If you know of any veterans who can utilize some of these resources, please share this channel with them. Also, be sure to put a like, hit that thumbs up button, put out a comment if you enjoyed the information. Really do appreciate it. And by you guys coming out here and sharing that information, it really does help other veterans looking for resources. So again, thank each and every one of you. I appreciate it. All righty. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.